Welcome, welcome. Let's bring that around one more time as our notifications go out. If you don't know who I am, my name is Miss Grace. Let's get it. All right, let's go. We're here for round two today, guys. Let's get it. Let's get it. We are starting kind of like a new series right here. What is going on? Okay, today we're going to continue our new series, the 10 King Theory. Okay, I have been noticing some things. We have been talking about it. So what we're going to do is just continue from where we were left off earlier, where you have China responding to tariffs that was put on them 3 months ago from Trump before he went and captured Maduro. Because our goal is right now at the beginning of this series, just at the beginning, because this is going to mutate into something so much more, so much more. But why did Trump kidnap Maduro? So if you didn't see the first part that we started this morning, basically we're highlighting that I believe in my investigation that they have kidnapped or captured Maduro as a proxy for China to force China to negotiate with America, highlighting that America had been doing everything in its power in the last 20 years to isolate China and their new allies. So we showed you 10 years ago, if you look at the earlier video, where they're basically starting to harbor oil, unrefined oil in the Caribbean Sea, and they didn't have many, how can I say, partners to sell it to. But as time went on and America continued to play these crazy international games, putting treaties, I mean, well, how can I say, putting tariffs on people, country, as well as violating treaties, it has made many countries be in the same position as China, where they had to find a way to trade their assets. Okay, so that was just our brief rewind of what we were talking about earlier. This is where we left off. Now, this is it is not the Chinese president, but this is Chinese foreign prime minister who spoke about rejecting the sanctions that was put on basically Russia that reflects or directly connects to their relationship to Russia. Okay, and this was 3 months ago. All right, let's get it. Thank you for being here. Hope I can keep you guys entertained today and educated and enlightened. This is only for the ones that can process this.
Unmistakable weight. In Beijing, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs convened its regular press briefing, where spokesperson Guo Jiakun was asked about the latest wave of US sanctions targeting Russia's oil sector. His response was clear, calm, and deliberate. The kind of phrasing that diplomats use when they intend to send a firm message without raising their voice. China consistently opposes unilateral sanctions that are not based on international law and are not authorized by the United Nations Security Council, Guo said. Behind that sentence lies an increasingly tense global standoff. Washington's new restrictions are aimed at further isolating Moscow's energy exports, the financial lifeline that keeps Russia's war effort in Ukraine running.
Now, remember, Beijing and Moscow, they're pretty much brothers and sisters when it comes to where they're located at. This is why they have this, I can't say love-hate relationship, but they have a relationship where China and Russia is kind of forced to actually work together, especially highlighting that they've been the opposition's object of affliction, which is America regime, basically. So this is just a little bit of what went on 3 months ago. But again, we did show you the particular article that highlights in December before Trump bombed Nigeria, before he went and took Maduro, he kind of changed his plan. Now, this is to mega because it's supposed to be America first. But according to this article we have on Axon, it says President Trump is coming in to basically eliminate that, how can I say, aura that he has put out with the great power competition concept, where America basically always came to the table like, I'm the leader, I'm going to control everything. And they did that by different means. And that is one, the petrodollar, two, also being part of United Nations and being a big supporter of United Nations financially. If you guys know how United Nations actually works, it is whatever country provides the most information and most money, they will be like the intel when I say information and have, to perceive more power. They have more, how can I say, leverage to create negotiations when United Nations is helping other countries. We went a little deep, but let's go. Now, this is again, we highlight China has hoard oil. Let's move on. And we talked about the rejection, and now how China and Russia will be impacted by the U.S. operations in Venezuela. So what confused me with this situation, y'all know I'm non-biased, I'm just real. It was just so weird how intense things were getting between these countries, meaning Trump was just stealing oil, stealing tankers, and then you had Venezuela. Again, this was so crazy to me, and nobody's really stressing it out. They switched the name and the registration of their oil tanker in mid-sea, just as they were about to be approached by America, or they were being pursued by America forces. And guess what America did? Still took the damn tanker. So I'm like, woo, we in trouble. But nothing happened, guys. Nothing happened. And it's not that I want things to happen, but I'm like, okay, we didn't jump into World War III that they've been trying to scare us with, propaganda us with. Is this the 10 King theory? Let's get to it. So, how China and Russia will be impacted by the operations in Venezuela? I don't think they're going to be impacted because Trump now wants to be friends with them. Let's show and prove what's going on today. They're playing with us, guys. They're playing with us.
Condemning the U.S. military operation over the weekend, capturing the now former Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife. For a look at the global implications of this U.S. raid, we're joined by CBS News foreign correspondent Remy and Uncensored, who was holding things down as usual in our London newsroom. Remy, good morning here once again. Help us understand what's at stake for Beijing in all of this. Errol, yeah, good to see you again. Well, China is taking hits in a couple big ways here. One is in its energy security because it is the biggest importer of Venezuelan oil. And then with the U.S. Military flying into Venezuela's sovereign airspace, landing on Venezuelan soil to take Maduro over the weekend, China's power projection into the Western Hemisphere has also been shaken. Venezuela was Beijing's actually first toehold into South America back in the 2000s, and now it appears to be losing that. I spoke with Dr. Ryan Burr. He's the director of the Americas program in Washington, D.C. at the Center for Strategic and International Studies on China's concern about getting Venezuelan oil in the future. Take a listen. Whether all of that production, and especially any increase in production in Venezuela that might occur, is going to come to the United States or whether it will be sold on international markets. Now, China has a way to make up for what Venezuela represented, but it is not going to be easy, especially as the United States is simultaneously squeezing Iran, one of its other top sources.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me that
now, you do remember in the last broadcast, we highlight who has the largest oil reserve. Again, that is Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, and then Iran. That's the unrefined oil. So kind of start looking at the bigger picture of who's aligned with each other and why our country may be going after these particular countries because of the large assets that they actually have. But what he's saying here kind of is in opposition to what I was thinking. Venezuela has been dealing with China for the last a little bit under a decade. China has a lot of contractual ties in Venezuela when it comes to exporting the unrefined oil and refining it. They have a process that we're going to go over later on that seems pretty good for them to get it out, as well as we're going to be talking about how they bypass America's sanctions to keep on producing, what can I say, not producing, but trading the oil. Please look at the other video that we showed you, because some of you guys are coming in and not seeing some of the sources that we showed this morning. But they actually showed, even though all of the like sanctions that was put on Russia, they didn't skip a beat when it still came to trading and transporting out oil and making money on it. Honestly, they just started trading more with other countries, such as what we highlight. This is where the Nigeria connection come in. Venezuela and Russia was directly, building relationships with Nigeria. So they were connecting these countries. All right. And that's where we kind of get the Nigeria connection. We're going to get into that a little bit more. So this is how China and Russia may be impacted. I just had to add a little bit more how I think they may not be impacted. But let's just keep this talk going. China. So I'm like, okay, as we mentioned, China's not moving. Russia didn't come to move after that tanker was taken. And it's the why for me, because they build up all this anticipation in us, like World War III, and these people are this and these people are that. We're talking from a non-biased perspective because we need to understand what's going on. But then just most recently, you have China basically saying, after things started hitting the fan, that they were thinking about suspending, allegedly, their oil sales in relationship with Russia. And I'm like, where is this coming from? But it's actually not a lie, because there's a lot of different resources. So I was like, this is a lie. CNN saying this, CBC, but then you got Sky News or Australia saying the same thing. So right there, this right here, where I'm going to show you, I think this was a sign 2 months ago to Trump, to tell Trump, listen, what you want to do, because Russia is disposable. This is what I'm thinking, and I'm going to break that down a little bit more. Why I think China is doing what they're doing and moving the way they are.
Has suspended its purchase of seaborne oil from Russia. India is also poised to sharply cut its oil imports.
So wait, listen to what they said. Sea-bound oil. That's the oil that Trump has been going after. This was 2 months ago, right before everything started popping off. So China looked like they were already like, all right, maybe they knew, or somebody had an idea, intel that things was about to start going down. And they're like, all right, we're going to stop dealing with that, so we don't get no controversy. But again, they actually have refineries. They already have contracts. Makes them prime, how can I say, economic buddies with Venezuela. Okay, you guys, let me know. Can y'all hear me? Because someone called in real quick. Let's watch
China
this.
has suspended its purchase of seaborne oil from Russia. India is also poised to sharply cut its oil imports, which would greatly affect Russia's ability to fund its war. India had faced a punishing 50% tariff on exports to the US if it didn't cut its purchase of cheap Russian oil. Oil prices have now surged more than 5% to a 2-week high, and Ross will be here to explain a bit more of that in a couple of minutes.
Hold on, y'all. So let me see what just happened. Can y'all see what's going on? I don't know why my screen looks like that. Give me 1 second. Hey guys, can y'all see me? I don't know if it went blank. It didn't look like it went blank, but it went blank on my screen. So I hope you guys can hear me and see me. I do apologize. I think the way we're breaking this down is making the algorithm a little nervous, but y'all know I'm not going to stop. Plain and simple. Now, this connection right here is going to make sense of what India is saying today years old, because India actually has sanctions on them, and they're being controlled by America by way of those sanctions, and India didn't like that as well, and they built primary relationships with Venezuela as well as African countries and China. So you have India coming in, and this is when I said in my last slide, it looks like India was the quiet little, not little giant coming in right now. You would never think India has anything to say. Let's go. All right, so U.S. sanctioned China oil companies and vessels for trade with Venezuela. So, okay, let's get back into this. This is 3 weeks ago where more sanctions was put on. So I showed you the sanctions from 3 months ago. I kind of showed you how China was already separated. They showed 7 years ago. What was I? No, 3 years ago, where they stopped buying American based oil, like dealing with the companies, like they did it abruptly and made the market kind of get nervous. And they were showing America at this time, listen, we working our way around you. So here comes Trump again. That's what I said. These are war games and they're playing with us. I think they're starting to absorb smaller countries so this 10 king theory can come to fruition. Let's go. Hit the like button. Thank you for being here. So let me see if this is Washington has put sanctions on companies. Let's turn this down real quick. In Hong Kong and mainland China. So he's putting more sanctions, putting pressure on them. Okay, because in my opinion, he's trying to force them into a corner because this is 3 weeks ago, and then we're going to get into the last like week where his tone is basically changing, where he's saying, Russia, China, come and get some of this Venezuela oil from me. This is what I want you guys to see. They're playing games with us right now. They're really playing games with the people. Because again, somebody is in the audience basically said, feed the rich. And that's what we're doing. They're playing these rich and elite games, and we didn't even know it. Now we're showing a big picture here. Let's go. Restrictions have also been put on vessels accused of invading blockage. Oh, so we're going to talk about how they're evading the tariffs and everything. Okay. So Treasury Department office has added, I'm sorry, I caught that at the last minute, that they are linked to Venezuela, the oil industry, that Trump is trying to be part of, because basically what America has done has backlash. They thought that they were going to tariff people to death and put them into a corner, and they actually backed them all into the corner together. Okay, so this is what they're highlighting, that some of the companies are going to be going into Venezuela and starting to remove this oil, and they're going to be American-based companies. And then they're going to try to resell these things now to Russia and China. Let's move on to the talks that's happening right now. That's why I said we got to cook with this, because this is literally right now a telenovela. Why America cannot afford to lose Venezuela. Let's watch this little short real quick, and then we're going to talk about how China is bypassing America petrodollar.
Military. It's the dollar. The petrodollar lets the US borrow cheaply, fund a global military, export inflation, and weaponize finance. That system collapses if oil stops trading in dollars. Nicolas Maduro crossed that line. Venezuela began selling oil in yuan, euros, rubles, even crypto. By 2025, 75 to 85% of Venezuelan oil flowed to China, settled outside the dollar system. Venezuela holds 3.
And remember, China was already pushing for the Middle East to sell in yen.
103 billion barrels of proven reserves, the largest on Earth. If yuan pricing normalized there, it would be structural. That's why Maduro's fate was sealed. The outcome, with Venezuela back under US influence. Washington now touches nearly 40% of global oil supply. China loses cheap, heavy crude. The petrodollar is reinforced. Trade leverage shifts back to the US. This wasn't regime change for ideology. It was monetary warfare. IMF data shows dollar reserves falling. China issues bonds at yields near US treasuries. The yuan is rising in trade finance.
See? So this is why he went to do it. So that was a great short little breakdown real quick, but let's keep it moving, because we're going to start tying and showing you India as well. And then you have big dog France coming in to kind of get in the game. China in 2025 trade has actually surplus a record 1.2 TLN. Please don't be but I was supposed to look that up. Despite Trump's tariff, and this is brought to us by Rutgers. Okay, so this is, let's see if this is the video actually reflect the article, because sometimes it don't. Yes, it does. Let's watch this real quick. So there's still, this is what I'm highlighting. Despite, that's why China's sitting there chilling. That's why they're not responding aggressively, physically to this, because they have so much like thick in the game. It's like so much ties into all of these different sectors, and they set up things that they're not losing at all. Going back to the surplus of oil tankers that was sitting in the ocean since like 10 years ago.
Posted a record trade surplus of almost $1.2 trillion in 2025. Chinese policymakers' push to diversify beyond the US paid off as exports to non-US markets boomed. Producers have tried to build global scale and fight off trade pressure from the Trump administration. They have shifted focus to Southeast Asia, Africa, and Latin America, and that helped cushion the economy against US tariffs and tensions with Washington. There will be more challenges for Beijing heading into this year. That as global capitals have grown more worried about China's trade practices and overcapacity. But a customs official announced Wednesday that China's foreign trade remains solid. They added its ability to deal with risks has been significantly enhanced. Its December exports grew 6.6% year-on-year, beating forecasts and up from November's number. Imports were up 5.7%. Economists expect China to continue gaining global market share this year, bolstered by Chinese firms setting up overseas production hubs to combat US and EU tariffs, as well as strong demand for lower-grade chips and other electronics.
Oh, we're not even going to talk about AI, but one of the production oil hubs was Venezuela. And we had somebody in a comment, I'm going to say 99. You said, so what? You know, the importance of this information is that, one, the mega supporters believe that Trump really has America's best interest in mind. And he showed throughout everything he's doing, he does not. This particular situation goes deeper than any person would really know if they don't deep dive, highlighting that there's been this conspiracy of a one world order, a one world government. And that's something that many nations, people, not the government, the people don't want. Because if there's a centralized one world nation that basically has a small table there, and you have 10 kings there, and then you just have a global government, and you have the whole world under us, we're going to have, under that, we're going to have no control as human beings to our policies, things like that. We won't even be able to get in contact with particular elected officials. That's just to go into that concept. But let's just reflect back that Trump is supposed to be American first, but it's not that. This is to, one, control markets, absorb countries, and destable America at the same time, Americans at the same time. As you see, ICE, that was supposed to be just taking migrants out, these type of people out, they're not. ICE, their actual, it seems like their agenda is expanding to social issues, to what people are saying online, First Amendment issues and Second Amendment issues are starting to come in when it comes to the behavior ICE. The so what is basically highlighting that we're in deep shit as just what they call the have-nots, because you may think that you're to have something if we keep going with the agenda that they're pushing and we don't realize this. Everybody wants to be sovereign and they're using those words against us. And it seems like they're going to a centralized type of government. Does that make sense? That's kind of what I'm seeing. But let's keep it moving. China and Saudi Arabia just bypassed the dollar in the U.S. economy, are calling this a game changer. Okay, I'm still holding off on you guys a little bit. We're going to watch that. But before I get there, let me just prove to you a little bit how China is bypassing not only the tariffs, but building a strong base of trade between countries with a foundation of gold and honorability. And the so what for me is that if you're going to be someone who survive in this type of situation, you're going to need to know how to invest, who's going to be moving, what's going to possibly collapse, and what to deal with and not. For real. Okay. So China's system bypassed U.S. central oil trade involving, one, the shadow network allegedly utilizing $9 transactions, the Shang International Energy Exchange. We're going to save that for another. We're going to say that for another lot because we're going to get into this next one today. Direct barter style oil for infrastructure deal. So they're bartering between each other, and that's what we're kind of was just talking about. They started the barter system, working with trust between the ones who were basically being blackballed by America. America, I knew it was something deeper than this. We're more in a financial bind than what we think. That's why Trump is changing the, how can I say, century long approach to how we approach America. We the world, we're the police, and you have to get down or lay down. It's not working no more. So he may have shown some power or gameplay with Maduro, but China is doing something that we may not know, and this is what it is. So it's three ways that they're doing it: through the Shanghai International Exchange, as well as the direct barter style. So the key strategic strategies that they're using include employing the dark fleet. So you saw a couple of months ago that China was like, we're not about to get nothing off the ocean right now. We good. We're going to just go another way. They playing chess, not checkers. So they can still be perceived as being not breaking international law, not doing nothing kind of crazy. Do you see where that's coming from? So key aspects of the system and context for right now is the petro yang and non-dollar settlement. This is what they're doing. China utilized the RMB via the Shanghai International Energy Exchange and specialized banking branches to clear transactions, avoiding US-based SWIFT systems. That's one. So we don't even know actually what they're trading or how much they have built when it comes to assets. We don't know because we've been locked out. Secondly, this is how they're doing it. No joke. They're playing chess, not checkers. Oil for infrastructure barter. Oil for infrastructure barter. They were building infrastructure in Venezuela. That's why I said this talk about, oh, China got to bow down to America, this, that, and the third. They have pretty good ties into Venezuela as far as infrastructure and already removing the oil out to refine it. So the oil for infrastructure barter, the formal framework with Iran and places like Venezuela, exchange crude for infrastructure projects, bypassing financial systems and insulating trade from direct sanctions. Okay, that's the barter system. The next one is the shadow fleet that we talked about that China kind of backed up. Like, I'm not about to play with them because I'm going to be the good guy. We're going to be looking honorable while everybody crashing out. Small independent China refineries, rather than major state-owned ones, act as primary buyers for this oil. So they're saying like it's a black market, and that's what Trump was saying. So he may not have been lying about some type of black market going on and him feeling the way that he was locked out of it. Strategic Petroleum Reserve. That goes back to the 10 years ago, the video I showed you, where they literally had so much oil, they was just parking it on oceans, on boats. This was what they was doing. China has accumulated a tremendous amount of surplus of petroleum reserves. Okay, these are sold with discounts, and the sanctions apply to buffer against geopolitical risk. So it says sanctioned supplies to buffer against geopolitical risk. I guess that's saying the ones coming from Venezuela is the sanctioned supplied ones. So you see how this is looking a little bit like deeper than what we thought. So China don't have to come and bomb us because they already had their hand in America. We're not talking about AI and all the technology that comes to us from them. Let's not even think about that. Let's just go to the 2008 housing crisis and you do the math and find out how much percentage of bonds that they bought of the American housing market when we was about to crash in 2008, or it did crash. They at least bought 28 to 30% from the last time that I knew, which was a good amount for one country to do. Does that make sense? So, related terms, we just want y'all to highlight that the petro yang is something that you need to know about, okay? And the barter style oil framework, learn about the barter style oil framework because it's not always about money exchange, and that's what they're doing, bartering oil and infrastructure. So now let's keep it moving. China, that's why I said this is a telenovela. This is a telenovela. As I got deeper in this, I was like, wow, they really playing us for a fool as regular people, because this is not about someone being a dictator, this, that, and the third, because pretty much all of these people we're talking about has tendencies of being dictators, even Trump. Let's watch this real quick. All right. Thank you for being here today. I love doing this. I love talking deep. I love researching. And if I can share whatever I could with you, this is what we do. Hit the like button.
About something that's been unfolding over the past 2 years, mostly outside public view. Not a single dramatic moment, not one press conference that changed everything, but a series of quiet decisions, strategic moves, and careful negotiations that together represent one of the most significant shifts in global finance in half a century. And when you understand what's actually happening between China and Saudi Arabia right now, you'll realize why economists who've spent their careers studying international finance are using words like game changer and tipping point and the end of an era.
Now, you guys remember what we highlighted in part one this morning, the Saudi Arabian prince or whatever, whoever he is. Trump just invited him to the White House out of the blue. He was showing China like, hey, this is my boy. We good. Watch, let's go. Let's just keep it going.
Here's what we know. Saudi Arabia is now accepting yuan for oil sales to China. Not for all sales, not officially abandoning the dollar, but in practice, in actual commercial transactions, Chinese buyers are paying for Saudi oil in yuan. The infrastructure is in place. The clearinghouses are operating. The currency swap agreements are signed. It's happening. Let me be very clear about what this means, because the implications go far beyond just China and Saudi Arabia. We have got to the point
Hold
where
on one
literally
second, y'all.
anybody can build a fully working
We had a
app without
commercial.
knowing how to code.
I like
This is
this
base
guy.
44.
Let's finish listening for a minute or two.
This isn't about one country buying oil in a different currency. This is about the dismantling of the single most important architecture of American financial power, the petrodollar system. And once you understand how that system worked and why it's breaking, you'll never look at global economics the same way again. Let's go back to 1974.
All right, we're going to stop right there because he does a nice deep dive. This is a 15-minute video. It's called, his channel is called Voice of the Horizon. So I just wanted you guys to get a sneak peek of that. One, I just want you guys to remember, my name is Miss Grace. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I am a separatist, and I separate from the BS. So we will be talking from a critical perspective. I love you guys from all walks of life or whatever you want to, but this is not a Democrat Republican thing, because at the end of the day, Obama in himself put a lot of these executive orders in. When he came in, he did a whole lot that actually gave the next sitting presidents the powers that they have right now. That's why people thought Obama was going to be a dictator. This was all a set up, period. Like I said, two hands, one head. But I just need you guys to see the system for what it is, so you don't get caught up in the geopolitics and we continue to use our energy inappropriately while we're still living in an inflated system. We're not getting anywhere as Americans, and they're buying up land like crazy. Okay, so China imports 1.4 million barrels of Russia oil per day, and this is how much that Russia depends on China. So when I heard that video, or I heard this from different resources, basically saying China was talking like, yeah, I'm not going to buy any more Russia oil that's out there in the sea and things that's connected to Venezuela, because they want to show them like, yo, we're still China first, honestly. And that's what makes Putin uncomfortable with China, because China holds the economic power. And that is true. Let's go. Hit the like button. Thank you for being here. My name is Miss Grace.
All right, my folks, now I'll give you some breaking news that's coming, where according to a Reuters report, the Chinese state oil majors have suspended the purchase of seaborne Russian oil after the United States imposed sanctions on Rosneft and Lukoil, the Moscow's two biggest oil companies.
And that was the latest sanctions.
National oil companies, that is PetroChina, Sinopec, and Zhenhua Oil will now refrain from dealing in seaborne Russian oil, at least in the short term, due to concerns over sanctions. According to the report, now these companies have not yet confirmed the development on their own, while China imports roughly about 1.4 million barrels of Russian oil per day by sea. Much of that is bought by independent refiners, including small operators known as teapots. Although the estimate of purchases by the state refiners vary widely. Remember, this is a Reuters report, and these Chinese oil majors need to officially come forth and confirm if they're stopping the purchase of oil from Russia, the seaborne oil from Russia.
Okay, now this is the black market that they're trying to stop China from buying oil from. Does that make sense? So because they're buying oil on the black market through the sea, as they say, shadow oil, it's stopping the American companies who are transporting oil and things like that from other countries from actually selling theirs. So what I'm thinking with China saying I'm going to back up, one is probably because I thought it was two, probably related to relationship and wanting to be, oh, I'm going to be the goody goody and I don't want to get caught in this, but it could be related to contractual deals. Let's break this down a little bit. China, what I have noticed and what they have said is that basically their contracts ain't got nothing to do with politics. If we say we're going to, hold on one second. They said if we bought oil or whatever we're doing, you buy oil from us, you're gonna get it. The change is gonna be real. It's gonna be good. It's not gonna be a problem. Politics don't play a part. Now, if they already have a relationship with these two companies that are, connected to America or whatever on the side, and then it comes to find out that part of that contract they're not supposed to be buying outside sources like that, then that can make sense to me. Does that make sense? Because China, it seems like they do honor their contracts. They do honor the way they trade. Let's break this down. One more thing before we get into China. It says Trump says China, Russia can buy oil from U.S. and Venezuela now. This is what I'm saying. Like I said, they playing games. I thought they were sanctioned. I thought they tariff. And now 12 days ago, according to Bloomberg News, oh, they could buy it from us now. Buy it from us because we stole it from Venezuela. Now let's get it. Let's just break down this China trade system that they have used to bypass not just the back market that I just told you, but this is how they did it the good way. This is how they built honorable relationship with the people who were basically the have-nots against America, whoever America went against. No, it says China new oil trade system involved using yen dominated crude oil feature contracts. What does that mean? On the Shanghai International Energy Trade. So we are going to talk about that a little bit. They are fully convertible into gold on the Shanghai and Hong Kong exchange. So they don't need our stock exchange. And guess what? Our stock exchange, our businesses and our American dollar is not backed by gold. So that forces China to basically don't sell what they don't have. Don't, make contracts without actually having the tangible assets, which is gold to back it up, because they're bringing back the gold standard where these companies can go to the stock market or whatever they need to go trade this in and they'll get gold. Okay. This is where we're messing up. This gold back yen system allowed exports like Russia and Iran to bypass the US dollar sanction, creating a petroleum yen that challenged the petrodollar. The key aspects of this system is mechanism. Oil contracts that settle in yen with the ability to convert the proceeds directly into physical gold. Let's go. Okay. Gold corridor, a mechanism designed for the BRICS. Now, this is where it looks like the BRICS is basically playing against America. Thought you separated. Thought you ain't had to pay the queen taxes no more. They have a whole new game plan right now. So y'all remember the BRICS had reset their system. It was this big old controversy a couple of years ago before the COVID. And I was like, whoa, that was a little crazy. But the BRICS play a part in this too because they kind of was doing deals with Russia and China. Not kind of. This is what they were doing. So the gold corridor, the mechanism designed for the BRICS countries and other partners to bypass Western dollar depending financial infrastructure. The key exchange of this particular program is the Shanghai Gold Exchange and Shanghai International Energy Exchange are central, offering physical settlements rather than just paper trade like America. The goal is to establish a new stable, sanction-proof global oil benchmark, reducing dependence on the USA dollar and mitigating Western dollar-based financial risk. So, who uses this? Saudi Arabia, China. That's why he brought the Saudi prince to the White House, because he like, yo, this my buddy. Like, let's make a deal. Because Trump is feeling locked out. I think America was feeling locked out. That's why they had to do this. And now he came with this new theory, like, okay, it's not only just America first. Basically, let's just strike a deal. Let's make this all happen because we the great kings. And as what Mega tried to not pay attention to, and we all know that Trump wants to be a king. He wants to be the last sitting president. So, sanctioned nations, Russia and Iran use this as well. They are key participators in the system, using the system to continue oil exports, avoiding U.S. financial sanctions. Let's get it. This is how they're doing. So now Trump is saying, all right, I'm back in the game. I done stole the oil. I done stole the oil. Let's go. Let's watch it. Let's see what he's saying now. Because they acting all weird to us, playing our emotional game. Every time they say something gonna happen, we run to the store, get gas masks, generators, stimulate their economy, still broke. That's right. Pay attention. Pay attention. Let's go.
The departure of Maduro makes possible
Party for the
an
people.
incredible future for both nations, Venezuela and the United States, which we will more closely integrate the economies of two major energy powers in the Western Hemisphere. And if we didn't do this, China would have been there and Russia would have been there. Maybe they both would have been there together, but they're not going to be there now.
They are there. Don't say maybe. You know they there, Trump.
One thing I
Looking like he got boogers in his nose. I'm sorry, y'all.
Tell them,
shut up.
Tell you that we are open for business. China can buy all the oil they want from us there or in the United States. Russia can get all the oil they need from us.
And hold on one second. Would that? Oh, that's my boy. I like him. What would that force China to do if they buy oil from us right now? It would force them to convert their yang into the petrodollar and continue to keep the petrodollar strong. Because as they say, the yang, just when they did a call in to see how the banks and everything will respond, the value of yang went up. We showed you that in the last live. It was just a test run. That was just it, to show you how strong the yang is and how the market volatility is lower compared to the petrodollar. So we'll sell to China, Russia. Trump lays out a plan for Venezuela oil after Maduro capture. So that would capture. So that was just a little short intro. Let's listen to some of the plan that Trump has. See what he's talking about, but he's definitely singing a different tune. Okay. And like I said, I was just so surprised that China ain't doing nothing, but China is playing chess, not checkers. Let's watch this together. We're going to watch a little bit more of Trump rhetoric, but I want to hear what his plan is for Venezuela, because at the end of the day, American people, our dollar still has to go into Venezuela. They're going to sell us a dream and say, hey, it's lowering our gas prices, but we still have to basically help them with their infrastructure, because now it's going to be power of the wits, power of the infrastructure building. You already have China already in there, infrastructure building, this contract that's backed by gold. Okay. And then that's why they had said, okay, you could come in there and say, oh, we about to control the politics in Venezuela. I control the market. And now you're going to have to pay for the politics. And who is you? That's me and you, the taxpayers. And that's the problem here. It seems like we're still going to this international type of one world order. That's what Trump said in the article. It's not about America first. Let's watch this real quick. Thank you for being here. I'm glad you guys are comprehending what's going on. I'm going a little bit deep, very deep, compared to many content creators, because I don't want to just give you bits and pieces. I like to kind of break it down in a way that we can make it make sense. We can see a whole picture and then just keep building on it. Because basically, I'm gonna be honest, they giving us flash news and it is like rushes of dopamine and cortisone and our stress level is high and we kind of jumping from here to here to here and still trying to maintain our lives, and they're giving us mental madness, just like one of our viewers said yesterday. They like this like spiritual warfare. It's spiritual warfare. So I'm just trying to help the average person who don't want to go through all of this for the next 4 years. We're going to break this down and make it make sense without our emotions, without any gang mentality, and then we have to plan, because as I mentioned, no matter whose side that you're on, when shit hit the fan and the lights go off, it's going to be you and your family. Trump and all of these political leaders are going to be in bunkers. They're going to be gone. They're going to be living their best life. So you're arguing and fighting about people who really don't give a damn about you. But let's go. That is real. Okay.
China, Russia, and Iran have interests in Venezuela. How does this
Shut
operation
up.
affect
You
your
said
relationships with
AI.
them?
Sorry. Don't get me distracted about AI took over Trump here. I'm gonna get you. All right. You already said you already saw I saw his boogers. Let's go.
China, Russia, and Iran have interests in Venezuela. How does this operation affect your relationships with them when
Well,
it
in
comes
terms
to
of
oil
China
and drugs?
and Russia, well, Russia when we get things straightened out.
Mm.
But in terms of other countries that want oil, we're in the oil business. We're going to sell it to them. We're not going to say we're not going to give it. In other words, we'll be selling oil probably in much larger doses because they couldn't produce very much because their infrastructure was so bad.
See?
So we'll be selling large amounts of oil to other countries, many of whom are using it now, but I would say many more will come. As everyone knows, the oil
See,
business in Venezuela,
many countries are already using Venezuela's oil. He said, but they gonna come and get it from us.
has been a bust, a total bust for a long period of time. They were pumping almost nothing by comparison to what they could have been pumping and what could have taken place. We're going to have our very large United States oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world, go in, spend billions of dollars, fix the badly broken infrastructure, the oil infrastructure, and start making money for the country.
Exactly what I just was telling you guys, that America oil companies needed a foot to get into Venezuela, and they had no way because China was already there making deals with them. And China did it strategically in a way to not build their total infrastructure. Their refinery takes place over in China, Beijing, and other places, but they made it an easy process. And we'll probably talk about that on another date. But now America don't know that easy process. So now we're going to have to pay for infrastructure, just like Trump said.
Till such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition.
My goodness gracious. All right, let's stop right there. So obviously he's just reiterating everything that I just said. Shout out to you in the audience. I don't want to be to make you feel away. Somebody said, where's the reparations, this, that, and the third. Baby, we don't got no foot in the game as Black people. We have no representation out here in the United States. Even any elected official will basically tell you this is not a current thing. That's the first thing that they tell you. So we won't talk about reparations. But the way that things are going, I don't even think that you want this blood money. I'm just going to keep it real. America's going to go through a lot over the next couple of years, despite of it is looking like it's going to come out of a hole. According to Revelations and Obadiah, all of these partners who you see we talking about are going to trade on America, because all of them are practicing dirty deals. No matter what country I'm talking about, they're selfish, they're practicing dirty deals, and they want to basically outwit each other. And it's not about us, it's not about humanity or anything, literally. And we do need to start to pay attention to more natural resources that we can use, such as windmills and solar power. Because I think once this market crash and people start moving forward towards AI technology and they need more energy, they're gonna have to use like solar panels, windmills, things like that. So just get prepared that I do think in the next year or two, in the next couple of months, Trump may come out with a bill once all this shit hit the fan about natural oil, solar panels and things like that. Watch. I just got a feeling because all of this right here is going to turn into obsoleteness. They're going to war so much and let it bubble up that this is going to be obsolete, and they're going to try to find a way to push us more towards technology and AI. And that was one more thing that I did not mention, and I may be mentioning it at the end. One of the other industries that China is leading in is electrical technology. Okay. Even though they move too fast. They move too fast. I was watching this video where they had thousands of electric bikes just in the dump. They did it too fast. But China buys record amount of US oil to meet the trade agreement. When did this happen? Oh, this was 5 years ago when 5 years ago before they had stopped buying. Now let's go to this. This is the electrician, the electrical.
Can a country of 1.4 billion people just
This is the electrical foundation or economy that China is building. What other economy are we building out here in America outside of the petrodollar? What type of industry are we trying to control? We can't keep up. All we have is the arms industry, to be honest. But Iran allegedly is catching up to America because they supposed to be big arms creator too, allegedly. Let's make it make sense, y'all. Let's switch our focus on something that's going to be really tangible for us, the little guy, and not get caught up into these geopolitics. Let's go. Hit the like button. Thank you for being
energy
here.
future rely less on countries like the US for oil, so it began to electrify its economy. To move away from gas-guzzling cars, one think tank figures the Chinese government has pumped well over $200 billion into electric vehicles in the last 15 or so years. Subsidies, tax exemptions, which basically caused the Chinese EV industry to start sprouting like weeds. Nearly 500 companies at peak hype, when executives who'd never run car companies before decided, let's try. Many of them failed. But one, BYD, has now even surpassed Tesla in sales, raking in over $100 billion in revenue last year. China now has more than 14 million charging points countrywide, about 60 times what the US has, but there's more. The one-two punch of getting itself off foreign oil was for China to double down on drilling of its own. Imagine wells nearly as deep as Mount Everest is tall. China's answer to ExxonMobil, they're called PetroChina, they spent billions of
You
dollars.
see, they were locking out Exxon, these companies that are American based, and they were creating competition.
More than Exxon did last year on major projects. And the International Energy Agency announced just this past June that Chinese demand for outside oil is dropping and its consumption is going down too. China loathes the idea of being beholden to Donald Trump's every whim, every threat, and relying less on foreign oil is one way to gain the upper hand. Can a country of
So
1.4
basically, they took over or try to take over an industry, or they're trying to, and they don't even need the industry. That's another heavy hitter. They don't need the industry. Okay? So let's move on. We're almost done with this live. I want to say thank you so much for the people who had the brain power to process this. I'm here for it. Okay. We're going to always deep dive. We're not going to let the small brained people come in here and try to disturb us because they want to keep us small minded and distracted and our dopamine going everywhere and just acting crazy, arguing, saying, yeah, this person should have died and all this stuff. No, what we're doing is living like we believe in our Lord and Savior Yeshua, Jesus Christ, and we act in the same capacity. So shout out to my megas and my Christians who be like, yeah, I believe in Jesus and this, that, and the third, because that's what I'm going to close off with, because I do truly believe something that I have to drop a bomb on you guys about China. But you guys need to start practicing like Jesus Christ. That's what we're talking about. Now, this is where we're tying India in the game, and then we're going to tie France, because I don't know where they coming from. That's why I said this is a 10 king theory, and they're going to start to absorb each other, and we're going to see who's going to be the last 10 standing, and guess what we're going to have? A one world order if we don't get on top of it. Let's go. Let's watch this real quick, just a little bit of it. India and China just teamed up. $1.6 trillion trade stock. Let's go. Let's go. India came in like the big dog. I don't know.
India and China quietly moving closer together, right as
Give
Washington.
me 1 second. Let me make sure. I think I had another Indian video up. I had another guy from India up. But I think his accent is a little bit too heavy for y'all. Y'all won't understand what he's saying. Let's go.
Washington turns up the pressure. Beijing has just redirected a staggering $1.6 trillion in exports toward the global south, cementing new trade routes that bypass the United States.
So India coming in. At the same time,
New Delhi is reopening talks with Beijing after years of tension, a shift no one saw coming. And with Trump slapping 50% tariffs on Indian exports, India now faces a critical choice that could tilt the balance of global trade forever.
Do you see where this is coming in? This is the truth to power. What we're showing you, all these tariffs is backfiring in our face. Not only us Americans was playing on the front end, this is the back end now. The alliances that was made with these countries.
When we talk about global trade, most people immediately think of the United States, Europe, or Japan. But in 2025, a massive rebalancing is taking place, and it's centered on China. According to recent trade data, Beijing has successfully redirected around $1.6 trillion worth of exports away from its traditional Western partners and into the so-called Global South. That means countries in Asia, Africa, the Middle East, and Latin America are now becoming China's preferred customers. Why does this matter? Because for decades, China's economy was built on selling to American and European consumers. U.S. demand for electronics, machinery, and cheap manufactured goods fueled China's rise into the world's factory. But with Washington tightening sanctions, raising tariffs, and trying to cut Beijing off from advanced technologies, China has had to look elsewhere, and it has found eager buyers across the developing world. Think about it. Nations in Africa and Southeast Asia are hungry for infrastructure projects.
And that's where Nigeria come in. If you guys don't remember, I have to reiterate this because in part 1, we saw the connection between Nigeria and African-based countries connected directly to China, helping them with their infrastructure. It is the oil barter system that they're using.
Smartphones and affordable vehicles. Latin American countries need machinery, steel, and renewable energy equipment. The Middle East is looking to diversify beyond oil, investing heavily in digital infrastructure and AI partnerships. In each of these regions, Chinese companies are stepping in with competitive pricing, flexible financing, and state-backed support. This is not just about selling more products.
And don't forget gold-backed support, okay, sir?
It's about building new trade corridors that reduce dependence on the West. With initiatives like the Belt and Road, China has spent over a decade laying the groundwork. Ports in Africa, railways in Southeast Asia, energy pipelines through Central Asia. Now, those investments are paying off. The $1.6 trillion figure isn't just a snapshot of commerce. It's proof of a long-term strategy to create an alternative global trading system. And here's where it connects back to India. New Delhi is one of the largest and fastest growing economies in the global south. For years, India resisted closer integration with China due to border tensions and political rivalries. But as Beijing pours resources into strengthening ties across Asia, it's becoming harder for India to ignore the economic benefits. At a time when U.S. tariffs are punishing Indian exporters, China's trade pivot suddenly looks less like a threat and more like an opportunity.
You see?
In short, China's $1.6 trillion shift is more than a number. It's a sign that the world's trade networks are being rewired, and that the balance of economic power is drifting away from Washington, straight into the hands of Beijing and its new partners.
Let's go. This is a 13-minute video, and the ones that I didn't let you watch the full video, I'm going to put it at the bottom. So let's just get us up to date as we start to finish off this live. We got into Russia-Ukraine relationship, what's the biblical, what is the historical aspects. We went into Israel and Palestine, biblical, historical aspects. We tied China into it as well. And now we're giving you more insight into Iran, how Iran played a part into this, and now India as well, and Africa. So I named about 11 countries at the beginning of this series that I wanted to kind of like figure out how they're all connected, and we're doing it bit by bit. So when we move on, we're going to start to talk about Chile. We're going to talk about the Latin countries. We're going to tie Greenland into this, and then we're going to figure out why France is doing this right now, because I'm a little confused. Where the heck is this guy coming in? He looked like one of those geeky, don't be mad at me. The French president looked like one of those geeky guys that just be trying to make it. But it says right here, I'm like, what do they got going on? It says Russia versus France, noble war begins. What is this? This is open news, guys. I get news from all over. This was 10 hours ago. Something has happened between these countries, and we're gonna pay attention. And I don't know what France think they do. France is trying to, basically, I think they're trying to get their foot back because most of the African countries on the continent kick France ass out. Okay? And one of the first countries to start doing that was my native other half is Barbados. Okay, yep. I think Barbados was one of them. First they said, we over this, we over this. Let's go. I think it was Barbados, I do believe. Let's go. Let's watch this. France is declaring war against Russia. Hours after Zelensky fury speech, France targeted Russia's oil empire. Russia oil ship under NATO radar. Putin's fumes under pressure. Hopefully they talk. Oh, I'm just going to read this to you guys because this caught me.
Just hours after a fiery speech by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Europe took one of its boldest actions yet against Russia's war economy.
Let's be honest. Europe must do more so its sanctions block enemies as effectively as American sanctions.
In the open waters of the Mediterranean, a Russian oil tanker was stopped, boarded, and seized.
Yep.
Here's what happened and why it matters. On January 22nd, 2026, the French Navy, backed by intelligence from the United Kingdom and other allies, intercepted an oil tanker suspected of being part of Russia's so-called Shadow Fleet. This operation took place in the Alboran Sea between southern Spain and northern Morocco, on the high seas and under international maritime law.
Now, do y'all know where Morocco is at, right? Morocco is at the tip of Africa. That's an African country. So this is where you tie in Africa into these this whole telenovela, because they have tremendous amount of resources, but it's always been America's go-to to dismantle all countries that are not European. And black countries has been cut off for many trade deals, things like that, i.e. Haiti. Let's go.
Emmanuel Macron confirmed the seizure himself, saying the move was about one thing: cutting off the money that fueled Russia's war in Ukraine. This is not just another ship. This is the
I'm sorry. He tried to pull a Trump. Oh my God. This man ain't even built like that. This is, as I said, this is a telenovela. This was towards the end of my research. I said, what the? Look at this coming in. There you go, France. You need something to do, don't you? Because you're kicked out of Africa.
Time, the West has seized a Shadow Fleet tanker loaded with Russian Arctic crude oil. The vessel, called Grinch, is a 22-year-old tanker, nearly 250 meters long, capable of carrying around 600,000 barrels of oil.
Wow.
It was loaded in Murmansk in Russia's Arctic region just days earlier. It sailed down the Norwegian coast, passed through the Strait of Gibraltar, and was intercepted almost immediately after entering the Mediterranean.
Wow.
French commandos...
I have to take back just a little bit because I thought Russia was going to come back hard, and it looks like something not right. Like Russia's getting kind of like got smacked twice. They got smacked a little bit with the alleged China was like, I ain't gonna buy no more oil off the sea from you because I ain't about to be part of that. And then you have France coming in right behind and hit them with in the back of the head with this.
Used helicopters and Navy boats, Masked soldiers boarded the ship. The tanker was then diverted for inspection as a judicial investigation was launched. Why this ship matters. Although it flew the flag of Comoros, a common flag of convenience, investigators believe this was a false flag operation. The ship shares identification numbers with another tanker already sanctioned by the US, EU, and UK. This is classic shadow fleet behavior: opaque ownership, poor insurance, and high-risk operations designed to evade sanctions. The big picture? Russia's shadow fleet is believed to include over 1,000 tankers, generating around $100 billion a year.
And those may be the same tankers that not Trump, that China has been having sitting in the ocean 10 years ago that we talked about. It may be the same vessels. That's why they like, nah, we're not about to deal with that. Russia, you can have that. Here you go.
Money that directly funds the war. Now, here's the timing that caught global attention. On the very same day, at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Volodymyr Zelensky blasted Europe for moving too slowly. He accused leaders of being in what he called Greenland mode, waiting for the US to lead instead of acting. He demanded more sanctions, more seizures, and the complete dismantling of the Shadow Fleet. Hours later, France acted.
So Zelensky now is using that as his ammo as an instigator. This is like the little instigator, like, all right, y'all better do something. They disrespected all of you guys. Hurry up, sanction, get them, get them. So France like, boom, this is my time to jump in. And we may have to get in on these deals. So let me go in and do something so Trump could give me a little bit more respect and we could start getting in on these deals because a large base of our economy has been ripped from us because African country kicked us the hell out. This is where France is coming in my eyes, because I'm like, what is this little ant doing? He don't even look like he has that but it looks like their back is against the wall.
He publicly thanked Macron, calling it exactly the kind of resolve Europe needs. What comes next? Russia has called similar actions piracy before, and retaliation is possible. Diplomatic pressure, economic countermeasures, or even increased naval posturing. But experts are clear, this is not a step towards World War III. It is a legal, targeted enforcement of sanctions, part of a long, ongoing economic war.
I don't believe this. I don't think it's a start to World War III. I think this is basically the construction of the 10 toes. And we need to figure out biblically who's going to be these 10 toes. Definitely, I know that America is still going to be standing because according to Obadiah, Gog and Magog is going to, still be around doing their thing as Esau go down biblically. I'm just keeping it real. So those are going to be the last three. I think that's still going to be standing, which is, I'm just giving you three of the 10 kings that I think: America, definitely China, and Iran for right now, and Saudi Arabia possibly. But I think maybe not Saudi Arabia because he's so mean and selfish that God gonna get him. But now let's just finish off with a heavy hitter. This is a little crazy, but to the side, but it's not because I found the connection. And we're going to talk about this in some part of our series. You guys listen to Candace Owens, right? I'll be listening to her even though she get on my nerves with her half information. Okay. But Candace Owens talked about Charlie Kirk actually going to China around the same time that he went to Israel shortly before he passed. Now, I do believe that the turning point in the mega has hijacked Christianity and tried to redefine who Jesus Christ is and what Jesus Christ stands for and whatever. On that same concept, guys, just listen. You get a little deep because I'm like, where the hell is China playing a part in? Why would Charlie Kirk go to China with Christians? Now, when we go into this, there was a news broadcast that I came upon that basically highlighted that in South Korea, that there was some type of genocide going on against Christians. The same concept that Nigeria was allegedly accused of. So when I heard that, I was like, oh, is that about to give Trump room to try to go after South Korea? Oh, heck no. Oh, heck no. Now I'm like, where do these Asian countries actually get the connection to Christianity? Now, if you look into the peninsula, the area where Russia's at, and the area of Georgia, that area of Georgia, and you could go research search this because the letter to Paul, I believe, I'll give you the direct letter. I'm trying to remember. Letter from Paul went to one of the churches. You remember in the New Testament where they were sending out letters to the new Christian churches, telling them how to behave, this, that, and the third. Was that Peter? He particularly told a nation that was in the area of like Ukraine, Georgia area, that they were the chosen God people and that they were supposed to live a legacy to a certain way because God has freed them from Egypt. And from my research, those people took that literally and made themselves God chosen people because those people who were stuck in that peninsula, they had to choose a religion, and they were stuck in between Russia, they were stuck in between China, and then there was this great Muslim thing going on. This is biblical teaching that you guys need to go research. So this is what ties Christianity into that kind of like Asian area. Does that make sense? On top of, and I'm gonna close off with this. Y'all know it has been a great debate about what happened to Jesus Christ for his missing 33 years. And I've been trying to research it myself, figuring out what he had done, what he accomplished. But I think it's pretty general, a general concept that some people believe that he went into like Beijing or somewhere where Buddhist monks was at, and allegedly he was there for a little while. Last week during my Sabbath studies, I came across a book that was written by this this what is the person, they go around travel and look for artifacts. Don't I forgot the name of it. Basically, he said when he went to this Beijing Buddhist monk commissary, they had the book of Jesus missing years when Jesus had to leave allegedly at the age of 10 years old. Now I'm going to put this audio book down there for you guys to read it. And I'm like, okay, this is not the first time where I'm hearing Jesus was in China. This, that, they're like kind of, this is what they was throwing out there. What happened to the 33 missing years? But within this particular book, it was so significant to me because he basically allegedly, this character that was supposed to be Jesus was supposed to been practicing under the great leaders of Buddhist priests and things like that, and he learned some type of concept that this gentleman couldn't explain because that wasn't what he was there for. He basically got sick, injured, and had to be amongst the whole Buddhist priests for a couple of months, and he knew that it was a book telling about allegedly Jesus' mission years. In that time, Jesus basically did the same thing that he did every time, everywhere he went, according to this story. Jesus rebelled. They said that he learned these great theories from, and they didn't tell us the details in this book, from the Buddhist high priest, but Jesus came out to start to basically go against the Buddhist high priest, saying that they were enslaving their people by way of taxes, by way of debt. The same thing that's been happening for centuries and eons. And that story was like, whoa, this the same Jesus then, because if this made up, this guy is basically saying, and this guy, the way he's telling the story, he has no religious bone in his back. And you could tell he don't. Okay. He's literally saying that Jesus was rebellious against the way that these Buddhist high priests was treating the common people. And they didn't say in all words he got kicked out of that area, but he left shortly, and that's when Jesus returned back to Jerusalem, allegedly at the age of 33. I'm going to put that audio book under there for you. This is what I learned my last Sabbath study session, because I have been reading Genesis over, which is Genesis is just the primary, how can I say, little bit of mixer, where I'm going into Jubilees as well as the book of Jasher, the first parts of those books, so I can reconstruct the family lines in real time um, from Ham, Japheth, and Shem. So I have that all written down, and I'm going to continue to basically incorporate those concepts of what I learned when I'm teaching myself, the real concepts of the Bible, the missing Bible, and me really wanting to know who Jesus was. So this is where I believe China comes in, because they have missing doctrine related to the Christian belief. So if they have those missing doctrine, which I believe is true, because if you look at what Russia's been trying to release periodically, time after time, that, oh, Jesus was black. We got the prima donnas. We got all of the real archives. How do they still have that? Because the rest of the books and stuff was burned. The two main nations that have missing history of Jesus, I believe, or three, is China. Now is making sense. Russia, because they're right there. It makes sense. That's why Russia really helps the black nations, I believe. I promise you, these are my opinion, but you guys can go research it. And the last place that has true biblical teaching of who Jesus Christ is the Ethiopian Bible. When you look into King Solomon and Sheba, wasn't it King Solomon and Sheba that got married? What happened to King Solomon? He went down the wrong way. He had all the wives, all this crazy stuff. But he had a baby with Sheba, and he loved her, and she loved him. So she had to learn about the Hebraic teaching, which is also known as Judean teaching. That was the foundation of King Solomon. Does that make sense? So those three countries have a lot of missing information that you as Christians, me as Hebrew need to know. So I know I went a little bit deep, but I'm going to prove it. So I'll put that book at the bottom. I'm going to keep on listening to kind of what Candice's little self is saying, because now I understand the Chinese connection and how allegedly, possibly, China is trying to hijack the concept of Jesus Christ as well. Let's get it. So I want to say thank you for being here with Miss Grace. Do y'all want me to get in y'all comments real quick? We didn't have a big audience, but I do think people who come back and play this, they're going to hear the truth behind what I'm talking about. This is very, very deep. They're playing with our mind, our money, our soul, and our future. The best thing that I told you I have heard from Candice and understanding the Bible is that all roads leads back to God, and he wins. So you guys just have to figure out what plane you're going to be in, meaning what perspective you're going to look at this in. Is it going to be a non-emotional perspective where you're going to look at things critical and play chess like China? Or you're going to be acting crazy like the megas and the Trump sirs? And I'm going to say the people who are fighting against ICE, because I don't like what they're doing, but I keep telling y'all, what y'all doing is pushing us into, basically, he's going to call martial law. He's going to suspend elections. And what is going to happen? We're going to be basically under the same thing other countries under dictatorship, without the illusion of us being free, because we are under it anyway. So with that goes to say, hit the like button. It says you should not be reading the Jesus. You say you should not be reading that Jesus wasn't missing 33 years. It's just told he was on earth for 33 years. No, Jesus, it's years missing out of Jesus' life. They went from him being 10 years old, and let me just calculate it. Maybe it's 23 years. Let's be correct. From 10 years old in the Bible to coming back at 33, and we just in your regular conventional canon Bible. That doesn't even make sense. Come on, man. Expand your horizons. Just remember that when God and the angels broke down the Tower of Babel, they did it for a reason. One, to humble mankind, and when they did that, they split the language and then they put the councils over the nations. Okay, so just remember at the end of the day that all of these different nations have different objectives, but the main objective was for us to get to God. So they have bits and pieces of truths that they're showing us, but we have to put it together. That's just how I believe. You see what I'm saying? So anyway, I'll see y'all later on, because I think I have one more thing that I want to present to you guys today. which is hopefully I don't get in trouble. If y'all want me to come back at 6, I'm going to come back because I want to show you guys kind of, I can't say the why Trump is not going after Chinese immigrants that came over illegally, but I think we're highlighting the why right now. But I want to highlight China illegal immigration into America because it was very high tech, it was very strategic, and it's just so weird that Trump does not want to touch it. They actually have a Chinese national who has been arrested, and one of our Congress members came out to speak up on it because they like, no, this is not a political thing. This was a mistake. So yeah, we'll probably come back tonight because I think I'm definitely going to probably have to work this weekend, but there's so much stuff that I want to talk to you guys about to keep y'all on point, not emotional, and staying sucker free. So with that goes to say, hit the like button. Sorry I didn't get to y'all comments. We'll get to it tonight. Put your notifications on. Please. Let's go. It's been a long day. I appreciate you guys for being here. Love you too, Starboy, tonight. Love you. Thank you, Mark Gabriel. Thank you, Casimir.